This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Previously on ye old Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Happy Thanksgiving, Scoundrels. Here's a taste of the cornucopia of content we have on this week's show.
It reminds me of the harrowing story of the first Sithsgiving.
Sithsgiving. Beware Sith bearing gifts.
Won't you tell us the story?
Oh, I couldn't possibly.
Oh, come on.
I'm not really good at stories, and I think
Please.
we're running out of time. Okay. Gather around, Scoundrels, and hear a classic and inspirational tale. When the Sith first arrived on the system, they were escaping extreme religious persecution from the intolerant Jedi. All they wanted was a place they could celebrate their diversity, to practice dark arts, and enslave local populations to do their will and build great temples honoring them. All they wanted was a place where they could watch their macabre and unholy genetic experiments thrive and run rampant and terrify the townsfolk. But they had a very hard first year and almost didn't survive. However, by Bogan's black bounty, the Sith forefathers had help from the indigenous Indianans, and now we commemorate that dark time with Sithsgiving.
Well, that's a surprising history lesson.
That's one thing that they've said over and over and over again, is that this is, for him, it's almost like his own personal pilgrimage, which goes with our theme this evening.
My comment then was I got that same feeling about Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Welcome back to a very special Thanksgiving edition of the Chew-E Challenge of the Chefs.
Writer, that's exceptional. Excellent job.
Okay, Chewie, what do you have? Oh, you've made something similar, I see. Oh yes, a very sophisticated presentation of Kohun caviar served upon, oh very nice, and a fitting tribute to Kashyyyk, served upon thick pieces of worship tree bark. It's hard to come upon Kohun caviar that isn't processed. Oh, you went all the way to Induomoto to retrieve it fresh? That's quite a feat, given the high potency of the Kohun venom.
Well, no harm in getting more fiber.
The trick with unprocessed Kohun caviar is that the warmth of the mouth actually begins to activate the inert larva. But if eaten quickly, there's a much slimmer chance they'll survive after hatching long enough to bite the gourmet.
Wait, what?
Gives new meaning to fast food, huh, Dennis? We'll know if you're okay right about...
Scoundrels, we're less than 10 days away from The Last Jedi. We know the excitement is more than we can stand. Let's kill some time together with another show. Here's what we have in store. Speaking of Scoundrels, the galaxy's smoothest scoundrel is not appearing in The Last Jedi. We'll discuss this announcement and more in this week's news. The holiday season is upon us. Time to start checking your lists of those that have been naughty and nice. We have gift suggestions for the deserving scoundrels in your life and a holiday edition of That's So Wizard. Alan Voivod from Star Wars 7x7, the only daily Star Wars podcast, drops by to discuss his Star Wars The Force Awakens trivia book. Finally, we have some listener feedback and community news and Silence Fools. It's the most wonderful time of the year, Scoundrels. Thanks for joining us for episode 43 of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
What do you mean, what? I'm looking at it right now. It's a postcard. It looks like a dip. Give me your phone. Here's the problem. The dang thing's upside down. Go fix it. Get that cat down. How'd that get up there in the first place? What do we give that?
Hey, what's going on up there?
I have no idea. Taxus, what are you doing?
Oh, hey guys. I'll bet you're wondering what I'm doing.
That's what I just asked.
Huh? What was that?
That's what I just asked.
I'm sorry, Jay. I can't really hear you too well.
Can you maybe stop the noise and you could hear us better?
Let me stop the noise and maybe I can hear you better.
Wonderful idea.
Hey, take 5, okay, fellas? Smokes if you got them. But step outside to do so, please, okay? Okay. Yeah, I know. This still counts as time. Now get.
Step outside. Aren't you on a ship in space?
Smoking is a dangerous habit, Dennis. But anywho, to answer Jay's question that I could not hear, it's the holiday season here on the Assessor Collector, and I realized that I don't have enough room in the foyer of the ship for the Christmas tree. So I hired some Jawas to help in the remodeling. It's great because they're efficient and the price was right.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Shoot.
First, don't you have a crew? Why outsource?
That's simple. If they get hurt, it doesn't hit the ship's medical coverage. And given the history here, the rates are pretty high.
Okay, so it seems like your ship is really big. Why do you need to remodel it to decorate?
Well, it's to fit the tree.
That must be some tree.
Sure is. Straight off of Endor. Got the hookup from the Ewoks last episode. They have the best Christmas tree lot in space. I figured the crew's been really working hard, so they deserve a treat. Also, a morale boost to offset the seasonal layoffs we just had here.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
Yeah, but on the flip side, it opened up a lot of vacancies in the crew quarters and the floors right above me, clearing the way to raise the ceiling. But don't worry about the crew affected. I gave them something fun to do before they left as part of their severance package.
And what was that?
I sent them outside to hang Christmas lights. Tinsel wishes and credit limit greetings, scoundrels. You've returned to the podcast that thinks Krampus is what happens if you don't stretch us before exercises. I'm your co-host of Christmas Presents, Dark Taxus, coming to you from the gift wrapping station of my flagship, the Assessor Collector. And with me, as always, are my co-hosts who are wondering who left the Yule log, Dennis the Phantom Menace Keithley and Jay the Hut Jayer Krebs. Dennis and Jay.
I love that introduction. And hey, I have a gift for both of you.
Uh-oh.
You know what it is?
Yes. Yes.
I finally finished Thrawn.
Oh, great.
Oh, outstanding.
So now we can talk about it. But yeah, I'm doing great. How about you, Dennis?
I am doing fantastic. Season's greetings to all of our scoundrels. We're officially in that time of year. And even more importantly, we're less than a week and a half away from The Last Jedi. So we've been talking about this a lot over the last several months, but do you two both have your plans all set now for The Last Jedi? You know, when you're seeing it, how many times and who with?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I got my tickets the very first day they came out. And we have a brand new theater around here where you can pick your seats, and it's those nice recliners. So, you know, we don't even have to stand in line. So it's going to be Pam Brookwalski, fellow blogger from Coffee with Kenobi and I, that's going that evening. And don't know how many times I'm going to get to see it, but definitely that night, the 14th, 15th, 14th. We're going at like 7 p.m. Yeah. How about you guys?
Yeah, I've got mine locked in, going with some local friends, and probably going to go to the same theater where Scott Murray goes to. So I'll probably end up running into him. I've ran into him past 2 times that we've gone. Yeah, it's one of those theaters as well that's really nice and relaxing. And, it's kind of accommodating to my robe. So, I'm looking forward to it. And then after that, I'll probably end up hitting it at least about 3 or 4 times, I figure.
Mm-hmm. Well, are either one of you doing cosplay as well? Are you said your robe, of course, but are you doing any other cosplay or just doing casual? That's
business attire.
Okay. I got you.
Well, I have family coming in on the 14th, so I'm not going to make that early shows that Thursday night, but I am catching the first one Friday morning, and then I'm taking my kids to see it after they get out of school on Friday evening. So I'll catch 2 quick showings then, and I'm super excited, but I'll definitely be doing the social media blackout on Thursday evening because I know everything that I want to know. I'll catch all the TV spots between now and then. I suspect we'll get a couple more, but I don't really think they're going to show us anything new that we haven't seen already. I am avoiding many of the interviews that the cast and crew are doing. I'm starting to bookmark them, and I'll come back and probably check those out after the movie is released. But I'm good. I think it's the sweet spot now to stop diving into all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm with you, Dennis. I might take the recorder and see if I can get some man on the street reactions to play on the show later. So,
Oh, there you go.
Jay, if you want the the reaction from the Ohio point of view, then maybe you and Pam could get some audio right after you see it too.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
and I'm really proud of my 15-year-old is and his friends are having a big marathon on Saturday, and then they're going to go see it together that night. So they're actually starting Friday night. And he's staying the night at his buddy's house, and then they're going to watch all the movies all the way up through, and then they're going to go see it. So I'm really excited for him because that's just so cool.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of like 15, 16-year-old boys, and they're all just kind of going to hang out and Star Wars it up, man.
Yeah. I wish I had your kids.
Oh, now you have wonderful children.
Yeah, they're okay.
I've been downloading the movies to my phone. I've been watching them on my commute on the train. So I've done,
nice.
and in like bizarre order too. I've done The Phantom Menace, Rogue One, and The Force Awakens so far. And I'm gonna
skipping.
Yeah, I'll roll a die later and figure out which one I'm going to watch next. I don't need to see them in order. I've seen them all so many times. We're just doing it for fun to satiate the excitement.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get on over to our news.
All right.
It's been an interesting news week for Star Wars in the lead up to The Last Jedi. So here's a few stories that we're going to get into. Jay, what do we have first?
Well, first thing we have is that Jonathan Davis. No, Taxus, not that Jonathan Davis. We've talked about this before. Anyway, he has been inducted into Audible's Narrator Hall of Fame. Star Wars fans that listen to audiobooks may remember him as the narrator for Catalyst, Lords of the Sith, Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, Battlefront, Twilight Company, Kenobi, Outbound Flight, and the Rogue One, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith novelizations, as well as the Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels favorites, the Darth Bane trilogy, among his many Star Wars credits. Yes. So happy to hear that, because he's definitely a very, very talented narrator for sure.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, if you're hitting the Audible Hall of Fame, I mean, not only is that job security, but are you doing anything else, like maybe some Sandra Brown books and stuff, kind of?
Actually, he's got a couple hundred credits to his name.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's been at this for a long time. When I was looking through his list, just trying to come up with the Star Wars titles, there would be one on the page, and I have to scroll through the next 15 or 20 to find the next one, and then the next one, and it just it took a while, and eventually I said, well, I've got enough of a sample here, but it's very well deserved. I enjoyed his performance in the Darth Bane trilogy quite a bit, which I heard for the first time this past summer when we were doing our Scoundrels Summer Book Club. And then I've also heard him do the Rise of Darth Vader, which was quite good, and some of Twilight Company, which I enjoyed as well. So it is a very, very well-deserved honor. Yeah. And I'm glad he got it.
Yeah, he kind of gave voice to Bane, because
definitely.
I guess previously we just had the Clone Wars, you are wrong, kind of Bane or something, and I like his Bane. I mean, just, no offense, of course, to the Clone Wars Bane, but I liked his Bane better because it didn't quite sound like your average, deep-throated, deep-voiced Sith Lord. You know what I mean?
Right. No, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I loved it because I think it was perfect. I do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to go back and listen to, I would especially be interested in Kenobi and Outbound Flight, I think.
Yeah.
And that's one I haven't revisited in a long time. And I always loved that book, Outbound Flight.
So wait, did you hear him in Kenobi, Dennis? Did you listen to that one? Did you say
No. Yeah, I've only really started doing audiobooks in the past year and a half.
Yeah.
I read Kenobi prior to that, and so it's one that I'm going to add to the list because I've been trying to go back and make sure I reread all of the canon novels, and I do the Whisper Sync thing on Audible, so I alternate between listening and then reading, and then but I did hear like I said earlier, the Twilight Company and the Rise of Darth Vader. I've heard him do those, and they were fantastic. A question for you though, Taxus.
Yeah.
You liked his Bane better than the Clone Wars version Bane.
Yeah.
Are you aware who did the Clone Wars version Bane?
President Johnson.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right.
Well, no offense.
Say that.
No offense, Mark. I don't know. I just, it didn't.
They're different characters.
Yeah, they are.
And quite honestly, I agree with what you all said when it comes to this Darth Bane, especially when you said it gave a voice to him. When I had read those books 3 times probably before this past summer, and the voice I gave him was very different than the one that Jonathan Davis used.
Yes.
But the one Jonathan Davis did was genius, and it worked so incredibly well. So that's what I hear in my head now when I read passages from that book.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, wonderful. And so, it's an amazing talent. Congratulations to him. But Now some more congratulations, I suppose, because it's not very congratulatory, but... all right, and cue the sad sounder. Lando Calrissian will not be appearing in The Last Jedi. Hurts to miss that one.
Yeah,
as part of Entertainment Weekly's recent coverage of The Last Jedi, Lucasfilm and Rian Johnson confirmed that the galaxy's most famous smooth talker will not be on the sequel to The Force Awakens. Despite the upcoming movie featuring the casino city of Canto Bight, Rian Johnson couldn't find a place to work Lando in that made sense. However, Lando is appearing in Solo, a Star Wars story, where he will be played by Donald Glover. And, okay, that's kind of appearing, I guess. I think mainly, for me, I'm kind of interested in seeing the original Lando, Billy Dee Williams, at least somehow. Just, what happened to him? What have we known? In fact, we almost deserve a book. Like what he's done after the fact. And we kind of know he went back to Cloud City and kind of rebooted, so to speak. But, it'd be great if maybe somebody had a TV in the background and you see an ad with Lando.
That's a good idea.
And it would be kind of a joke on when he was doing, the Colt 45 commercials or something, even, Billy Dee Williams was. So I'm kind of disappointed.
Advertising Tabana gas or something.
Yeah, something like that. I guess I'm just, or new capes, I guess I'm just a little bummed out by this. Sure, you don't want to cram them in to where it feels like fan service. We've had lots of discussions about that, but still, come on, it would have been great. Unless it would have made it like completely like The Empire Strikes Back, because that's the first time we see Lando. Nobody wants to have a second one.
Right. Well, Rian Johnson, I don't know if either one of you caught the Jimmy Kimmel show that was on last week, but they mentioned also not having Lando. And he just basically mentioned to the whole cast and said that what you said, that it just didn't really fit, that there was so much of a cast that it just didn't make sense. So, yeah, I know I'm a little ambivalent about it as well. You'd like to see him just because, of course, it's classic Star Wars, but it's also true that we're also going into a new generation, so we don't want to overkill the old generation.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm glad that they didn't force him in there. If there's not a natural spot to put him in there, then I prefer that they had just left him out rather than insert him and risk distracting from their story. They've got a lot of character growth to do in this movie, from our classic characters of Luke and Leia to our new characters of Rey, Finn, and Poe. And while it would have been fun to have him in there, I'd just rather they not do it if it's not going to make sense. It's a little surprising that they can't fit him in to the casino scenes on Canto Bight. That would seem like a natural, especially what we know about how he lost the Falcon to Han through a game of idiots or help me out here.
Sabak.
Thank you. Sabak. Thank you. But again, we'll get to see that character in Solo, and if all goes well, maybe we will see him in episode 9, but I'd rather sacrifice his appearance for a better story and better character development overall than to force him in there and already make this 2.5-hour movie longer than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and go ahead, Taxus.
It would have just been nice to see a little bit of closure, with him, with Carrie Fisher again, but, I don't know. I guess they just weren't thinking about that at the time, and, how do you do it now? You can't. So,
Right. Well, I've thought too that perhaps if they have a funeral scene type thing for Han, that he would be there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Huh.
That's a really good point.
So, at least to show up as a cameo, if nothing else, to give his condolences, and because they were friends, and even in the novelizations for the Aftermath series, they talked about him sending a gift to the newborn baby, when Ben was born and that type of thing. So they were obviously still close, as close as they could be. But I
guess wonder if maybe that any type of funeral would have been held amongst the members of the Resistance, and if he isn't an active member of that organization, if he even would have known where to find them.
That's a good point. But Lando's always got connections and sources because he's Lando.
This is true.
You would think.
This is true.
You would think.
We'll just have to. I was going to say, I guess we'll just have to content ourselves with Billy Dee Williams' appearances in Rebels for the past couple of years.
Right.
You would think that they would have made him Kylo's Bogan father or something, you know?
All right.
So I just don't. I mean, yeah, they were close. So it's a shame.
All right, well, let's move on to a few other news hits before we finish up. First off, the cover of Timothy Zahn's Thrawn Alliances has been revealed. Everyone's favorite blue-skinned genius servant of the Empire graces the cover along with Darth Vader.
Ooh.
The novel is currently set to debut next summer. Did either one of you get a chance to see this yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Looks really cool.
Excited.
Yeah.
I like Thrawn. I like the Thrawn stories.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes. If it's another Rebels era novel, if it takes place after the events of Rebels, after the events of A New Hope, or where they do, or when and where they go with that.
Well, more importantly, are we going to find out the mystery of how he knew Anakin?
Right.
I suspect that'll come up.
Yeah.
If Vader's going to, because he seems to know who Vader is. So, All right. Up next, The Last Jedi is currently tracking for a $200 million opening weekend in the United States. This is less than The Force Awakens' $248 million domestic opening weekend, but more than Rogue One's $155.1 million opening weekend. And so I guess that's to be expected with sequels.
Right.
And then if everything holds true to form, episode 9 will have a take that's somewhere between these two on its opening weekend. But wow, I don't know. You know, what we know about Rian Johnson and Lucasfilm's faith in him, with giving him a new trilogy, as we discussed last time, I would not be surprised if this one has a stronger second weekend if the Force than the Force Awakens.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is that maybe they need to change the measurement to some of these to being a little longer time period. You know, unless you're trying to measure with initial views, initial reactions. But some people are going to go see it, you know, multiple times on that first weekend. So that's not even really a good metric.
Right. And the other thing that The Force Awakens had going for it was the first Star Wars movie in 10 years. And it was the sequel to Return of the Jedi, which we've been waiting for 32 years for. So there is that. So Rian Johnson revealed on Jimmy Kimmel's late night program that the first words, and if you don't want to hear this, jump ahead about a minute. The Last Jedi the first word is were. I don't know that there's anything else to make of that, but there you go.
WE apostrophe RE. Weird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Weird.
Oh, okay.
Like we are.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification, Jay.
No, that's okay.
Finally, we are getting mixed signals from Daisy Ridley about whether she'd be interested in playing Rey beyond episode 9 of the sequel trilogy. She recently gave an interview where she commented that she signed on to Star Wars as a 3-film type of a thing, and that would be a good way to round it out with episode 9, and then she'd be done. But then a few days later, when this was brought back up to her, she has made comments that people have kind of misinterpreted it. It's not the way she meant it. So enjoy her appearances in The Last Jedi in episode 9, because she may not come back, or maybe that's just a sentiment that she's expressing now after she's devoted so much time to these movies. And she might be more willing to come back after she's had a break for a few years. What do y'all think?
Well, it might be that maybe there will be no Rey after episode 9.
Dun, dun, dun.
I hate to say that, but there's, you always have to keep that in the back of your mind, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe she's not going to be continuation, but I seem to remember, though, that they were saying they've made statement. I mean, Lucasfilm, didn't they make a statement that they want to do more stories with these 3 in the future?
Yeah. That was right before the whole news of Rian Johnson's trilogy came out. Kathleen Kennedy was on the Star Wars show talking with Andy Gutierrez. Yeah. And she said that they'd just been sitting down talking about the next 10 years of Star Wars stories and their new characters, including Poe, Finn, and Rey. So if you take her literally at her word, at least Rey's in their future plans. Right. Or, you could also go with, this is a misdirection, which, Lucasfilm has never done before.
Maybe they're going to work in Ray Romano into a new character, and that's who she was referencing.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Everybody loves Rey. There you go.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for this week's news. For more on these stories and others, check out other sites such as RetroZap.com, Fantatrax, Jedi News, The Forcenet, and Coffee with Kenobi. Yes.
This is so wizard. You feeling me, Hunter's Wizard? I was just stepping through you, girl, with my intellectual wizard politics. Nope, wizards only. Wizards only, fools.
This is normally the time that Jay would launch us into another edition of That's So Wizard. We're still going to do that, but we're expanding this segment into our hypothetical for this year's Scoundrels gift guide. Jay, with that, why don't you get us started?
Absolutely. And I'm so excited that we are expanding this because 'tis the season for merchandise for sure.
Yeah.
And I think as much as I'm kind of ambivalent about, the movies coming out around Christmas, it makes sense because all of these companies are launching new lines. There's new products coming out, and it's just in time for that gift giving season. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's launch into this. The first thing we have is the Rag & Bone Star Wars collection. And Rag & Bone was started in 2002, and they are a New York-based fashion company that describes itself as urban style, combining British heritage with directional modern design.
Okay.
So it's a very, very interesting line of clothing for sure. It's very edgy, very modern, very, metro in its look. Mm-hmm. And the collection was released officially online December 1st. And I looked at the online collection and there's already several pieces that are completely sold out. Oh. And they've been dribbling some more availability through December 5th and even beyond that. But it's a little pricey. And I'll get back to that in just a second. But the collection does take its inspiration from Star Wars iconic looks by interpreting existing Rag & Bone designs into the pieces. So there's Jedi-inspired tunics with hoods, tops, tees, pants, sweatshirts that draw their inspiration from the First Order, as well as Luke Skywalker and Hoth Princess Leia inspired ensembles. And they're all meant to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the franchise. And there are also boots and shoes styled to complement the look, as well as even handbags. So it's a very all-inclusive kind of line that if you want to start, go from head to toe, basically, you can definitely do that. But the head executive, Marcus Wainwright, had this quote on the website. He said, quote, "I have always been a huge fan of Star Wars, and it has been awesome to create a collection which coincides not only with the launch of Star Wars The Last Jedi, but also with the 40th anniversary of the franchise." So again, just basically echoing what I just said. And like I said, it's a bit on the pricey side. There's a lot of things that have been sold out, but for example, there's a pair of women's boots that are sort of Leia inspired that go with the Hoth outfit that I saw. Oh, yeah. And those are like $625.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they're also advertised as limited edition, limited quantities, and limited time. So if you've got the disposable cash and you want to snag any of these pieces, do it quickly. Mm-hmm. I imagine they're probably going to be restocking some of the things that are out right now, but there was a sweater that looks similar, inspired to Leia's Hoth outfit, like I said, and some other things. But right now, it's very, very scant choices.
Yeah. They're nice looking boots. I mean, to be sure,
they are.
And actually, they kind of have a white and a black set. Mm-hmm. They're named different, mm-hmm. But I'd be kind of terrified to wear these tennis shoes. Mm-hmm. The RB1 Force is $395. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to ruin them day one. I'm just hard on shoes,
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, they're really cool pieces, and it's something that they are limited edition. So if you're really into the fashion part of it, it's kind of fun, but I just know I wouldn't spend that much money on a pair of boots either.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So Dennis, did you get a chance to look at any of the pieces?
Here and there, I've seen a couple of them, and they are impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, the price range is. It'd be fun if I had the disposable income for it. That's for certain.
I kind of like the hoodie that's emo Obi-Wan.
Yes, exactly. But not necessarily emo. Let's not throw that word around there.
Okay,
let's just say urban metro.
He's pouting. under the hoodie.
He's the Metro Man.
That's
Obi-Wan.
pouting. Okay.
But what's kind of cool too is Mark Hamill is on board with the Rag and Bone company.
Oh.
He is actually the face of Rag and Bone's new men's project series. And it also includes celebrities such as Russian-American dancer Mikhail Baryshnikov and the rapper Wiz Khalifa. So they're trying to really bring in generations of men to promote. And there's some shorts on the website as well. The one with Mark Hamill, he talks
shorts.
about... Yeah, exactly. They don't have any shorts in their line, though. These are video shorts that I'm talking about.
Oh.
But he talks about himself as the role of a celluloid hero, which is kind of cool. So check that out. Yeah.
Well,
Kinda
people
cool.
are usually trying
So
to get
that-
rid of celluloid.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so that's Rag and Bone. So moving on, we also have Muster Brand, and Muster Brand is the leading designer label of premium pop culture apparel and accessories, and it was founded in 2010 by Knut Jochen Bergel.
Say that
and that's
again.
from Germany. Knut Jochen Bergel.
All right.
And they have established a reputation of high quality, chic designs based on the biggest franchises in entertainment, not only Star Wars, but also Street Fighter, Assassin's Creed, Halo, World of Warcraft, and much, much more.
Oh, cool.
So I have the Muster Brand Jin Urso jacket, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, thing's awesome.
So yeah, it really is. And it's very versatile too. You can wear it with a lot of different things. But one of the things that Muster Brand prides itself on is that they blur the lines between fashion and gaming like no apparel lines have before. And each item is crafted in partnership with the studio's development teams, ensuring authenticity that resonates with the fans. So the collection itself is pretty cool. Definitely a little more down to earth in price than the Rag and Bone, and very unique, very interpretive kind of designs. So they have pieces for both men and women, and they feature items styled around some of our favorite characters and iconic Star Wars images. So there's some Rey, Luke, Darth Vader, First Order, and even Cassian Andor are all represented in pieces,
cool.
ranging from scarves to sweaters to coats and even bikinis and men's board shorts. So there's your shorts.
Ah, yay. All right.
Yeah.
And
so
I
go
can
to
still
Muster
wear
Brand
them.
for the shorts. Yeah.
Because it's December.
And they're, and it's
Texas.
Death Star stuff. Well, if you have your hot tub on the Assessor Collector, right?
One of many.
Exactly. So you could put it to use there, and it even has the Death Star on it. So it's even dark side. Look at that.
I'll tell you what, this stuff looks really cool. I mean, like, if I was a woman, I'd be so into the Sith Lady hooded coat. Just saying.
I know, right?
I mean, it looks
Very, very cool.
You know, they do a good job of like integrating, the fan, the little pieces of fandom into the styling to where it's not like blaringly apparent. You
Exactly.
know, like if I go to work wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, everybody's going to know it's a Star Wars t-shirt. But some of the stuff, I mean, you wouldn't even know if you didn't, pay attention to the details. It's really good.
And a good catch on your part there too, because that's the one thing that whenever, I don't know if our listeners have noticed a lot of this, but there's a lot of pieces that I pick out that are exactly as you said, where it's not sort of an in your face, oh, this is Star Wars, but for someone to look at it, first glance, they might not realize it until they start looking at the details. And then they realize, oh, that looks familiar. And a Star Wars fan would pick it out, of course, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very subtle in some of the designs.
The Sith Lord hooded coat for men. Ooh. Now that is neat. That looks nice.
Yeah. I'm enjoying some of these jackets here. The Cassian jacket, the TIE Pilot limited edition leather jacket's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And the Skywalker jacket. That's really classic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
So check it out, everybody. The prices range from $50 for the scarves to up to $500 for a full-length coat. But I don't mind paying that kind of money for a coat.
Yeah.
If it's a good quality coat and it's something that I can wear, a lot. So, but yeah, again, something to check out for sure. And then last but not least is a quick little cargo cosmetics update. And it is now available, but it is for a limited time. And you can get that online at Kohl's stores. And again, just online. And they have made available the following products. So there's an 8-shade eyeshadow palette in both the light side and dark side shades. So the light side shades are more very kind of it reminds me of Rey, very Jakku oriented with the beiges and the browns and that type of thing. And the dark side shades are more your really deep jewel tones, greens and purples and blues and blacks and that type of thing. So there's 2 there. And then there's 2 different types of mascara. There's a resistance mascara, which is a lengthening mascara.
Is it water resistant?
They did not say. I was hoping that there was one that was, but there's a lengthening. The resistance is the lengthening, and then the first order is a volumizing. So if you want length versus plumpness, then you've got your choice there. But what I'm really excited about is the full color character mirrors. There are 4 of them available. And they kind of fold or flip out, and they have gold trim, and they're full, like I said, full color, and they have a nice gloss on them. And there's Leia, General Leia, Rey, BB-8, and Phasma. So I thought it was interesting that they chose BB-8 because Leia, Rey, and Phasma are all female.
Yeah,
but
I find Phasma interesting too because it's like, oh dang, I've got to freshen up my helmet.
Well, yeah, you know.
I mean,
she's a lady underneath all that armor. She's a lady.
I guess, but I mean, it's like I spent hours on my face, and you don't appreciate it. Well, you're wearing a helmet, ma'am.
But a helmet that you can see yourself die in.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and whether your lashes are long or plump.
Exactly. So all these products are priced between $20 and $28. So it's nice. They're very well priced, and you know what you're getting with every one of them. And you can order, like I said, direct from Cargo online through Kohl's, and some Kohl's even have an in-store pickup available. So you can order online and then just run in and go pick it up. So if you want to avoid all the crowds and craziness this time of year, these make great stocking stuffers, and they also are great for just anybody.
Might need
hoping
to see
somebody gets me.
Can you use Kohl's Cash online for redemptions, or?
You can, but there are certain exclusions, and I'm imagining this is probably going to be one of those because it's more of an independent company type thing. But yeah, there's always exclusions with Kohl's Cash, unfortunately.
I love the Kohl's Cash.
So that's the main ones. There's one more that I wanted to talk about real quick before we get into our round robin. And this is definitely for the man in your life.
I'm a man.
So guys, there you go.
I'm a strong man.
Norelco shavers, and these are cordless wet and dry shavers that are all limited edition Star Wars. And there's a Poe Dameron, which I think is the coolest one because it's kind of weathered looking and it's got some orange on it. But it's got a little X-wing on it as well, which is really cool. And there's a Stormtrooper and one that's just called Dark Side. So it's more of a red and black with silver, but there's several different styles available. And right now you can get them at Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond, basically anywhere that you buy your personal shaver products. And there are some with 2-head and 3-head, and they're wet and dry. And they're anywhere from around $50 for the 2-head to $99, which is now 30% or $30 off actually at Best Buy. So right now, only $99, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I always found the 3-head a little unstable. I mean, it's kind of like, it just doesn't feel right. I kind of like the 2-head stuff because it's like mowing a lawn. Just straight back and forth. Hey, did you know that they were also there were rumors to be a Cassian Andor shaver? Yeah. Well, the only problem was it always made your face look like about 2 days worth of growth. So,
but do you know what?
They had to toss it.
Style. That's actually in style. That little bit. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's in style.
So, yeah, I guess. Bump.
I straight blade myself. You know, I don't know. I electric razors never always. They just never felt close enough. And you know, I like keeping my Sithly visage like a newborn bantha's bottom.
There you have it, folks. Well, see, I'm glad that you said that, though, because that's what I was wondering. So, Dennis, what about you? Are you the straight shaver kind of guy, or do you go for the electric kind of stuff, or, you know, what's your preferred visage?
Well, considering I do have some facial hair with the mustache and the goatee look, I do use an electric trimmer for that. But then I otherwise use a standard razor through one of the various shaving clubs that are out there on a monthly basis. But I would definitely check these out.
Well, I know my husband, he shaves his head. So, and he just uses a straight razor for that. But he's got some trimmers and things too. But Norelco is definitely one of those brands that's very well known.
Yeah.
So
shaving talk can be a very, very exhaustive subject for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of the benefits of these, of course, is that you don't need the shaving cream. But man, I love me some shaving cream, especially some good stuff.
There you go. See, it's good to hear these things from the other side.
Yes. Manly advice from men to men.
And they make great stocking stuffers too.
They do.
So, but you can always do the aftershave.
Ooh,
right?
The aftershave?
Yeah. Well, they don't have Star Wars aftershave as far as I know. I'm sure there is out there something, but who knows?
I don't know if Dennis wants aftershave after the last incident with it.
Yeah, well, I put that behind me, so we'll move along.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's hear about some gifts that you guys are thinking about here. So let's transition into some fun gift guide stuff. What do you say?
All right. Well, I'll take first swing at it. And here's something that I find to be very novel, but also as an experienced con artist, right? Because we like going to conventions. One of the tools that I always advocate for everybody to have in their tool pack is an external USB charger for their phones. Probably, you know, because you're going to run through a lot of juice, taking pictures, tweeting, doing things that we love to do at our conventions. Also, if your phone's constantly searching for an internet connection, that drains your battery. So right. I like the ones that you can charge up in the car as well. And so I'm picking the Star Wars R2-D9 Red Droid Robot Figure Tablet Phone Electronic USB Car Charger for only $79.99 on Amazon, I might add. And have you guys seen this?
I have not.
No.
Tell me more.
It's cool. It looks like a little R2 unit sitting like in a socket, like if you're in your, a starfighter, And
cool.
It's pretty interesting. What it does, it has 2 USB charging ports, okay? It's compatible with anything that uses a USB like your iPhone, smartphones. Each port provides 2.1 amps, and his dome rotates and lights up. So he does,
fun.
he does like he makes like a little sad whistle when your device is running out of power, and whenever you plug him in to charge him up, he like bleeps and bloops with happy little chirps and stuff. So to me, that'd be fun because he fits in like your cup holder. So it'd be fun.
I have seen that one.
Yeah, it'd be fun to kind of drive around and have a little R2 unit in there, kind of, just and you looking back and forth and stuff. It might make your commute a little less boring, if you have a real long one. But yeah. So like I said, it's about $80, and not only is it a helpful tool, but personally, I think it's fun. It looks great.
Mm-hmm. So you can plug in 2 phones to it. So if you and your passenger both need a little bit of juice, you can have R2 with you. It's okay. We have R2 with us.
Well, and you can take it with you too. So you can charge up. Yeah, you can.
So it's like a Mophie almost as well.
Sure.
So you can put it in your backpack when you go to conventions.
Yeah, but you might say adios, Mophie, and go with this one. So
that's what I'm wondering, because I know when I went to New York a couple of summers ago, it just seemed like before I knew it, I had absolutely no charge left.
Yep.
So like you said, you're taking pictures and you're doing videos and you're online and we're, putting things on Instagram, and before you know it, you have nothing left. Yep. So anything Star Wars that way would be perfect. Great stocking stuffer.
Yeah, it sure is. It's fun.
And it would absolutely be perfect if they ever getting around to announcing another celebration. So
Right.
Yes, that's true.
Amen to that.
That's true.
okay. Well, for my first gift, I went with something that's both Star Wars and festive. It's really popular these days to get Star Wars holiday decorations. And of course, we're all familiar with the Hallmark ornaments that come out each year. I'm going with something a little bit different. I just picked up a few of these myself. My children are very fond of nutcrackers. And so I found a line that's been put out by Kurt Adler. They're very easy to find. You can catch them on places like Amazon.com and I believe Kohl's. They have versions that are just the standard character, and then they have versions that are themed a bit more for the holidays. For instance, I have Darth Vader holding a Death Star that looks like a holiday ornament.
Oh, cool.
And then there is a Yoda dressed up as Santa Claus, and then there is a stormtrooper who's holding up an ornament that has the Imperial logo on it. They aren't terribly expensive. If you go to places like Amazon, you can usually get a bundle of 3 of them at some sort of a discount.
Oh, cool.
And you know, they range somewhere about $12 to $20 a piece, just depending on the seller.
Yeah.
But they're fun to have around the house, and I've got them sitting on a bookshelf downstairs. And they, with the extra red and green in the decoration, they fit right in with all the other holiday decor.
And, I think that giving gifts that are used seasonally like this, it's not only timely and appropriate, but whenever the receiver pulls it out, they're going to think about you. So yeah, I think this would be something super fun to have. In fact, I'm kind of interested in a couple myself. So I'm not saying anything because I have to sneak in the decor from the lady Taxus. So
Aha.
Aww.
she has distinctly non-Star Wars themes.
More traditional,
Yes,
right?
yes, ma'am.
A little more
Have to.
Dickensian.
Yes, indeed. Even though I'm not sure why economic policy comes into it, but
Okay. Jay, what is your first suggestion?
All right. Well, when I think of gift guides, I think of things that you may not always necessarily buy for yourself, but you would definitely appreciate someone buying for you. And, things that maybe aren't the beaten path kind of stuff. So the first one that I have is definitely on the adult side, and it is the Skywalker Vineyards wine, which I have been coveting this for the longest time. I actually do have one bottle of Skywalker wine in my cooler that I got several years ago from a friend.
okay.
And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the right moment to uncork it. And it might be coming up very soon, just saying.
Is it white or red?
It is red.
Okay, good.
It is red.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
So yes, so it goes right along with the Sithly theme. But I'm actually kind of a wine nerd in a way.
Oh.
But I know some about it, but I don't have enough money to buy it.
Yeah.
Which is why I would like for someone else to buy it for me.
Oh.
But there's several that are available based on whatever kinds of crops that they had for the year. And right now, if you go onto Skywalker Vineyards, there's 3 vineyards that are available right now: 2012, 13, and 14 Pinot Noir, which are $70 each.
Okay.
And that particular type of wine is a little bit robust for me, though. I like the sweeter wines.
Okay.
So I do like the Chardonnay. They do have a rosé, and they also have a Samita, which are made from Pinot Noir grapes, but they're a little bit more light and perfumed. So they're not quite as that, raw, I guess you could say, flavor. But
Aggression.
yes, exactly. So I also found another online source, wineranger.com, that has Skywalker wines for $39 plus shipping and handling. So that's about half the amount, but it's really cool. They have their logo on the front, just says Skywalker, but it looks more of almost an angel with a sword, and as opposed to what you might think of as a Jedi or something that is more Star Wars related.
Huh. So, but that's the same label, though, right? I mean,
Yep,
okay.
it's the same thing.
Interesting.
Same thing.
Interesting.
But they're all they do it right there at the Skywalker Ranch, so they have all their grape crops and everything right there. So it's all cultivated right there, which is really cool.
Do you think George directs them?
Probably.
You know?
Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm more
Faster
of
and more
a,
intense. Get it faster and more intense. Stomp those grapes.
Port faster.
yeah, I
Go ahead.
typically enjoy a red wine with a lot of bold tannins in it. So we have a very contrasting flavor palette there when it comes to wine. But
So you
that's
would like this then?
well, this is, a good bottle of wine is always a good holiday gift because, there's lots of holiday parties going on. And, if you miss Christmas, it's still a great gift for New Year's.
Yep.
As you mentioned, Jay, the release of a major film in a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Another perfect time to open up a bottle. So that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I like booze.
Do you now?
Okay. Well, let's move on to your next suggestion before we go down that path.
Oh, okay. It's like all these complicated flavorings, but I can't tell. Okay, I'm not sure if these are available anymore, but collectors, and we like a lot of books and DVDs and all sorts of stuff. And so when I was just trolling out there through the Amazons, I think these are both from Gentle Giant, so they might not even be produced anymore, so you might have to kind of find them, after the fact. But there's a couple of different pairs of bookends that are out there. And the first one that caught my attention was a Star Wars Mos Eisley Cantina bookend, which basically has Han Solo reclined with his blaster under the table and Greedo with his blaster over the table on the other side. So in between the two of you, you put your books and stuff. It's really neat. Depicts the most famous and controversial scenes from all of Star Wars chapters, the infamous Han Solo and Greedo showdown at Mos Eisley Cantina. And this beautifully detailed set of bookends is perfect for displaying your books or DVDs. They're 6 inches tall by 10 inches wide. Comes with a hand-numbered certificate of authenticity, so I have a feeling these things are very limited. And like I said, this seller on Amazon is currently unavailable. So the other ones that I thought were kind of cool, there's a set that depicts the scene from the trash compactor. So on one side, you've got Han and Leia pushing a steel piece of metal up against the wall, and on the other side, you've got Luke playing with a Dianoga, trying to, wrangle that for dinner, and Chewie pushing against the wall too. So these things look like they're just a little taller, but they're both they look really good, just as good as well. So I'd recommend those under a tree.
Definitely. That's a lot of fun. The one that you mentioned with Han and Greedo, the Cantina, that one I believe has been out for, if it's the same one that I'm thinking of, because I saw that one several years ago and I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to have that. I would love to have that. And then it would sell out and then I wouldn't be able to get it. And then it's one of those things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily purchase for myself, but if somebody got it for me as a gift, so that's a perfect gift idea.
Yeah, I'm going to see if there's any.
Yeah, I love it.
So do you think that they reissue these then?
I'm not sure. Maybe, perhaps, unless it's a different seller.
Yeah.
Or maybe, because that, like you said, that is an iconic scene. So it's something that would be easily recreated, but it's very cool. But I don't know about you guys. I have so many books that it would definitely be more of a decorative piece.
Yes.
Maybe, yes, functional, but more decorative than anything. But who can't use some more Star Wars in their life?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, my son has in his room the Star Wars logo that was split in half as a set of bookends, which is fantastic. And I've seen the ad bookends before, but they just do add something if you have a Star Wars shelf, especially with the hundreds of Star Wars books that have been out there for a while that just add a little bit something extra to that. Yep. So that's a fantastic. Well, Libby, speaking of books, my next suggestion is the latest edition of the Star Wars cookbook. This one is called BB-8, and that is ATE. Awaken to the Force of Breakfast and Brunch. Now, this is going to be released on December 15th. But you can pre-order it now on various booksellers' websites like Amazon. The description of this, it reads as follows. Awaken your inner force with 29 intergalactic breakfast recipes. Fuel up with Han's Solo oatmeal, battle hunger with Admiral Akbar's, and so much more. These easy-to-make, mouth-watering recipes feature characters and scenes from Star Wars The Force Awakens, as well as from the upcoming film Star Wars Last Jedi, and photographs featuring Star Wars figurines and recreating epic moments from the films provide an extra helping of humor. If you go to StarWars.com, they have an article about some of the photography, and I think they have a video on them shooting it. There's like a Kylo Ren is levitating a piece of strawberry somewhere. The original Star Wars cookbook is pretty popular in my house with the kids. We've made the Cantina chili from that several times. We've done, I think, had like a pig in the blanket recipe that kind of looked like X-Wings or TIE Fighters. I can't remember which. That's pretty good. But it's a fun little book to have, especially if you've got kids that like to cook or are interested in cooking. They have some recipes that are just fun, and the photography in there is fun as well.
Very cool. Who's the author on that? Did you mention that? Did I miss that?
No, that is Laura Starr, Starr.
Okay. I would love that. That would be so cool. I'm always looking for fun stuff like that to do. The one that you mentioned that you have before, is that the one that has the Yoda soda in it?
Yes, I think that is.
Yes. I love Yoda soda and Wookiee cookies.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah, Wookiee cookies are good.
We've done those.
So good. Excellent suggestion. I love it. I'm always looking for a new cookbook, so yeah, that's a good one. All right, well, I guess it's my turn. Yes. Okay, so this one's a little pricey. It's $199.99, just a penny shy of $200, but it's the Lenovo Star Wars Jedi Challenges AR headset.
Yeah.
Ooh, have you guys seen this one?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But the only bummer part of it is that because you have to use your smartphone and you snap it into the AR headset, you're the only one that can see you doing what you're doing. So that's kind of a bummer, because I know with my kids, this is sort of the updated version basically of the training droid. We had this training droid thing that would hook, it was like a plug and play.
Yeah.
You could plug right into the television, and it came with its own little lightsaber, and you would work your way through all these battles. Well, that was so much fun because we could watch each other do it. But with this one, you really can't do that, but that's okay. But there's 3 different modes, which is really cool. And you can get onto bestbuy.com and you can watch some of the videos, but they have a strategic combat mode, which is kind of like a just straight video game. And then there's a lightsaber mode, so you can battle Kylo Ren and Darth Vader, and it's so cool.
Okay.
And a holochess, as we know, Dejeric mode. So you can play some Dejeric too with it, which is really neat.
That's neat.
Yeah. So I would love to have that one.
You know, I would just love to know the rules for Dejeric.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So maybe you have to get this to learn, you know? I don't know.
And here's a little trivia. Did you guys know that when Finn turns on the Dejeric table in the Millennium Falcon in The Force Awakens, it picks up right where Chewie and C-3PO left off?
Oh, it was the saved game.
Yeah, it was
that they never finished. No.
I know.
That's a shame.
But I thought that was a cool piece of trivia. But anyways, again, it's called the Star Wars Jedi Challenges AR headset from Lenovo.
Maybe they lost their internet connection after that and just couldn't finish it.
You know, sometimes going through hyperspace, I'm sure would probably do that.
Yeah. Shame. Well, that's cool. Well, I'm going to round mine off. You know, I don't really believe in time. I'm just saying. I know it happens, but I don't know if it exists. It's kind of weird. And as such, I usually don't wear a watch, but this time, this thing caught my attention. There's a series of watches called Nixon watches, and you know, they're not crooks, so you can get one for. It says on the Amazon that it was $550, but they're selling it for $250. So it's a little pricey, but it's a nice looking watch. It's also one of those things, Jay, like we mentioned, where it's not readily apparent that it's kind of a fan watch. I mean, it doesn't say Star Wars on the band or anything. The band's metal. It's water resistant. It looks great. It's like some real nice dark colors, and kind of hidden in the background, you can see the Imperial logo, and the hand, one of the hands is red like a lightsaber for the Vader one.
Oh, cool.
And then for there's a TIE Fighter pilot version, and another Darth Vader version that you can just kind of see like the bottom part of his face mask, the breath plate, the breathing section on the bottom of the watch where the 6 is, and that one
cool.
That one actually has. It looks like they include a hilt to the little lightsaber second, with the Imperial logo hidden in the hour hand. So yeah, they're really beautiful. They're kind of stunning. They're, I like them, but it's a little pricey. But like I said, if you've got somebody that's a, discerning gift getter, this might be for them.
Are they round?
Yes.
Faces?
Yes.
Or, okay, so they're all round. Because I know some of the more modern designs are looking at more of that rectangular face, more slim. But I prefer the classic round. I'm such a watch and clock geek. I love watches and clocks. So anybody that would get me something like that, and this is for men only, correct?
Yeah, what I saw were men's sizes, but I imagine there's probably women's variants out there somewhere.
And that's okay too. But it sounds like they put a lot of attention to detail.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they really did. And like I said, it's you wouldn't know if you weren't really looking at the detail in it. Because it's really well hidden there. But.
Very cool.
Those are cool. Those are definitely cool. My next addition to the list is going to be the updated Sphero droids that have been released. These first came out in 2015 with The Force Awakens when we got the BB-8, and with the Rogue One last year, they added the R2-Q5, which was the black R2 unit that was in a blink if you'll miss it scene during Rogue One, and they've been expanding the line ever since then to include R2-D2, and now they've added the First Order's BB unit, which is BB-9E. These are just fun to have. I've had a chance to play with one once at one of the department stores, and it was fun. You can do it with your phone, or they have a wrist controller that you can get now and play with it. I haven't tried that out yet. You can find them at most retailers like Amazon, Best Buy, Kohl's, and such. And if you're discerning, you can probably find a deal right now where they'll give you the wrist controller, which is about an $80 value for free you buy the Sphero as well. And now those will, depending on the model you select, those can range from $120 to $150 or so. But keep your eyes open and you can find a deal. They're, like I said, they're just fun to have. Kids like them. I've seen adults that have had a lot of fun playing with those. And, who doesn't like having a BB-8 or R2-D2 around?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. So much fun. I have the BB-8.
Oh, do you?
And yes, I do. And I absolutely love it. There's just something almost maternal that comes out in me when I play with this thing. There really is. You just get that all over warm, fuzzy feeling from having this little droid around. But the coolest part, and I don't know, I'm sure the new ones will probably have this feature as well. But with the BB-8 that I have, you can watch The Force Awakens with him, and he will react to the different scenes and everything. And oh my gosh, it is the best way to watch The Force Awakens. And cool. There's little scenes that will pop up on your phone that give you little trivia and stuff while things are happening in the movie. Neat. And oh my gosh, it's a battery eater. So this would be the time that you would need your little R2-D2 plug-in. So you could have your R2-D2 plug-in, and then you can have, your BB-8 or BB-9E. But yeah, how fun are they? They really are.
I wonder if they interact with each other anyway. Like if you took the BB-9E and the BB-8 together, like what would they do?
They should. Yeah. They should. There's got to be a way for that to happen. That's cool. Dennis, I think it would be really cool to have that wrist controller, because mine is just simply on my phone. But I definitely think that it would be a lot easier perhaps to have the wrist controller. I haven't tried that one yet, but...
Yeah, I haven't tried that either. They just had the one time I got to play with it, they had just a random tablet that had the software downloaded to it, and the app downloaded to it. You just got to play with it for a little bit, and it was fun making them roll around and do things. And they're very responsive. They have great control, which is saying something, because my children have had a number of remote control devices that you work through a tablet or a phone or something over the years, and you can't always say that.
Right.
They come in various quality, but Sphero's put out a fairly good product with these.
definitely. And I know that they also have other types of brands that have the app enabled remotes for BB-8 and that type of thing, which I have not tried those, but I've seen mixed reviews on those, and I know some people really like them. But I do feel like you get what you pay for with Sphero, and yes, they're about $130, but heck, they're so much fun. They really are. I know from my own personal experience, I absolutely love my BB-8. Now you're making me want to bring him out and play with him.
There you go.
So yeah, that's such a great suggestion. Okay, well, I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
So, all right, so I have some clothes, and I'll just run down through some of these clothes really quick. Her Universe and Hot Topic, of course, have combined to go together with some things, and there are some pieces that are available exclusively through Her Universe, and then some that are available through Hot Topic. But one I actually just ordered for myself, which is the one that I was speaking of on the last That's So Wizard, which is the Porg embroidered cardigan and the retro skirt. I got them.
Awesome.
I'm so excited. So I just ordered them, I should say. I haven't gotten them yet, but so they're on the way. So there will be some,
some grams.
Feedback on that one coming. Oh, you bet I will. But the one thing that I've been waiting for, that white Hoth Leia vest, was finally released on Friday. And I actually tweeted to Ashley Eckstein about the fact that I had just ordered the Porg outfit. And I said, now I'm just waiting for that Leia vest. And she tweeted me back and said, tomorrow. Oh. So last Friday, December 1st, I got on as soon as I got home from school, and they were sold out.
Oh.
Already.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Jay. And Ashley built your hopes up so high.
I know. But see, that's what I get for working, I guess. I can't get online and shop during the day.
You should have hired somebody to do it for you.
I know, right? But anyway, she said that they're going to be restocking very soon. Okay. So that's definitely one that I want so badly. And they're priced very well, especially if you can get them online. The whole outfit cost me less than $90, even with shipping and handling, which I thought was pretty good. Yeah. Because I know when I first had mentioned these in That's a Wizard, that I thought they would be around $50 a piece. So yeah, they were a little less than that, but with shipping and handling, of course, that brings them up. But so those are fun. And then there's this really fun Chewbacca cosplay vest that's on Hot Topic, which is very furry, and it's got the bandoliers around where the pockets would be, but it has a hood, and it's sleeveless, and it's very fuzzy, just like Chewbacca. But it's dry clean only. So, that's of course because of the fur, but that's to be expected. And then the last thing is actually from the Disney store. It's shopdisney.com, and they are the Porg pajamas.
Oh. Porg jamas.
So Porg jamas. Yeah, perfect. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. But they're gray and black, and it's a 2-piece set, and they have Porgs all over them, of course, and then the Star Wars logo on the top. But they're drawstring with the elastic ankles, which is great. Not like the really thin elastic, but the thicker cuffed elastic type thing. So it's not really elastic. It's just a stretchy cuff kind of thing. But I told my husband, because he was making fun of me because when I ordered the Porg outfit, he said, "Are you going to leave me anything left to buy you for Christmas?" And I said, "Well, look at this. ShopDisney.com, honey. There you go." So they're $29.95, and
that's not bad.
Yeah, maybe that'll show up under my Christmas tree.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think we've hit most of our major items here. Did either of you have any honorable mentions you want to throw onto the list real quick?
Yeah, actually I do. There's one from ThinkGeek. It's a ThinkGeek exclusive. Again, it's something that I probably wouldn't buy for myself necessarily, but I love office supplies.
Yeah.
I'm kind of weird that way, but I love me some good office supplies. But this is a Last Jedi infantry stationery set for $24. It's $23.99. But it has it's a ThinkGeek exclusive. It has 30 Resistance Starboard insignia paper clips and a corked glass jar, which is really cool. 20 Starboard push pins and a corked glass jar. So you get paper clips, you get push pins, you get binder clips. love me some binder clips. Let me just tell you, as a teacher, a resistance pen with black gel ink. So gel, very awesome.
Okay.
And then a 48-page lined journal with gold foil Rebel Alliance cover, Starburn insignia, and watermarked pages. So it's actually a pretty cool little gift set.
Yeah.
And so like I said, not something I would necessarily buy for myself, but I would love it if somebody else would buy it for me.
I would love them so much I wouldn't use them. That's the problem.
Yeah, see, now I would use them. That's the thing, especially at school, but I would definitely make sure that I put them back and none of my students would take them because I would be very salty if they did.
How about you, Taxus? Do you have any other last minute suggestions you want to add?
No, I'm pretty much tapped out, man. I'm good.
Okay, well then I'll add just a couple things real quick. With The Last Jedi, we're getting a whole slew of new books, also releasing on December 15th. That include Star Wars Last Jedi's Visual Dictionary by Pablo Hidalgo, The Art of Star Wars, The Last Jedi, which is by Phil Szostak and Ryan Johnson, also coming out on the 15th. The Last Jedi Incredible Cross Sections, which are a lot of fun to read, by Jason Fry, and Cobalt Squadron by Elizabeth, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce her last name, but I believe it's Wine. And in addition, Canto Bite, the book that's a collection of stories by John Jackson Miller, Saladin Ahmed, Ray Carson, and Mir Grant, comes out on December 5th. So if you got people that are looking for more about the events of The Last Jedi, you've got a whole slew of books coming out. And beyond that, everybody knows that I'm a really big fan of Star Wars Lego sets. And they've had several of those that released this year, including the ATM-6, the new Resistance Bomber, and the First Order Star Destroyer. Now, those sets are on the pricey side, ranging about $150 or so each. But if you have kids and you're looking for a less expensive set, they've also released a bunch of the new micro fighters, and those are kind of almost a caricature set, I would say. They have a standard minifigure, and then they have a vehicle where the character, your figure, more likely rides as opposed to pilots, because they stick out of it, and they're an easy build. Those are about $10 a piece, and a kid could put those together in 15 to 30 minutes, probably without much help from mom and dad. So those are our suggestions. Scoundrels, do with them what you will. If you have other suggestions you think would be worth everyone listening, then let us know. Email us at sqpod@retrozap.com.
Hi there, this is Alan Voivod, host of Star Wars 7x7, the only daily Star Wars podcast, and you're listening to Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
And now we are pleased to welcome Alan Voivod, the host of Star Wars 7x7, the only daily Star Wars podcast. Alan, how are you doing this evening?
Very well, thanks. How about yourselves?
Doing quite great. Doing quite well.
I had a small splinter, but I found it and got it out of my finger.
Oh, that's a relief.
Yes.
Well, now that that's out of the way, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on tonight is because we've been talking about Star Wars holiday gifts, and you recently released a Force Awakens trivia guide. What can you tell us about this?
Well, for a long period of time on the podcast, better part of a year, I would say, after The Force Awakens came out, I was doing a Force Awakens trivia question on every episode of the podcast. At the end of the podcast, I'd do the question, and then the next day I would give the answer, and then the question for the next day. And I thought to myself, you know what? Why not collect all of these since you're doing all the work? And I had the Jedi Masters quiz book, the Rusty Miller Classic, when I was a young boy, and really enjoyed the heck out of that. And I thought, well, there doesn't seem to be any Force Awakens trivia book out there in the world, so why not just pull together everything I've been doing and make my own?
So, okay, so I know you started off as a daily project, but then did you just come up with these questions just things you remembered, or did you deliberately sit down with the movie to come up with the questions?
Well, it was a little bit of both. There were things category-wise that suggested themselves where I could run with it for a number of days. Like, for example, what is Poe Dameron's first line in The Force Awakens? What is General Leia Organa's first line in The Force Awakens, et cetera, et cetera. Who says this line of dialogue first? Who says, may the Force be with you? Who says, I have a bad feeling about this? Things like that give you sort of categories to run with. And so I was able to do series like that for a while. And then, of course, when the movie came out on video, that made things a lot easier because I could sit with it and come up with questions. And then the final push when I was pulling the book together and saying, okay, this is really happening, I'm going to get everything laid out. I spent a weekend where I watched the movie in painstakingly slow detail, pausing it every 5 or 6 seconds and writing stuff down. And ultimately I had duplicates and ended up, winnowing it down. And so the number is, over 501 because of the 501st. Give it a little knock to that, but it's 530 some odd is the actual number.
Wow. And, okay, so growing up, we all had these movies like memorized, right? Verbatim, Oh, yeah. All the phrases, everything. So do you find, because I do, that because of all the deluge of Star Wars that's coming out all the time, it's hard for you to kind of stop down and really kind of lock into these meaningful things? Like you were saying, what's the first line, or what's somebody say to somebody else, because we all know, for example, the I love you, I know line, but if you asked me right now, like, okay, so Rey says this, what's the reply? I might, I'd have to think about that, It's not as ingrained in my DNA. Did you find that was difficult with you?
Yeah, I did. And I have a sensation that this trivia book might end up being appreciated even more 10 years down the road because, we've all watched the original trilogy, and for those fans of the prequel trilogy who obsess over the prequel trilogy, all those fans have had a good 10 plus years to obsess over that. And so we've had enough time to have it worked into our DNA, just like you were saying. And I don't know if we've necessarily had that same amount of time for The Force Awakens, but I think over time it will certainly be the case. And I would hope that the trivia book ends up being something that enables that.
As a regular listener to your podcast, I know you frequently do trivia challenges. Did those questions from the old Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, or where did you and your son come up with those from?
Yeah, that was from the classic trilogy Star Wars Trivial Pursuit. That's where all of those were coming from. And I have not done one with the Force Awakens book, but I probably ought to consider doing that. And I haven't done a trivia challenge actually on the podcast in quite a while. There's just so much content that has come out that there's almost not been time to do trivia challenges on a regular basis. And it's a little sad in a way, but I remember when I first reached out to Lucasfilm about getting the podcast listed on their community page on their website, I got a reply from Matt Martin, who's now part of the Lucasfilm Story Group. He wasn't at the time. And he said, I don't know how you're going to be able to do a daily podcast, how are you ever going to have enough content to do it? And it's really an embarrassment of riches over the past couple of years.
Really? Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I rarely approach the microphone on a given day not knowing what I'm going to do. More often these days, and especially these days as we really get close to the release of The Last Jedi, more often these days I'm having to make decisions about what it is I'm going to cover. For example, I still haven't talked about the Captain Phasma novel, and I still want to talk about the Poe Dameron comics before The Last Jedi comes out. But there's also all of the new commercials that are coming out that have extra snippets of dialogue or new scenes. There have been the Q&A sessions that they've been doing, Facebook Live with Rian Johnson and a bunch of the cast, and Twitter Q&A sessions and all this stuff. There's so much to talk about. It's insane. And so getting back to the trivia thing, haven't done that as much in the podcast in a while, and I do think that I should probably get back to that.
Wow, knowing what you're going to talk about before getting to the microphone, that must be really nice.
Well, I mean, as a global sense, I don't necessarily know what's going to come out of my mouth when I actually get in front of the microphone, but generally speaking, I know what's going to happen.
Star Wars is something that lends itself to trivia because, with all the different starships and characters and iconic lines, I can see why that would be an attractive topic to write a trivia book for. But are you a fan of trivia in general, or is it just Star Wars?
This would be the point at which I try to very humbly brag about myself. There is a weekly trivia night in the town next door where I get to join anywhere between 3 and 5 other folks on a team, and we regularly flatten the play.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Although I will say that it's been rather close the last couple of nights. But I mean, there's a high school history teacher on our team, the chief of psychiatry at the local hospital, a marketing manager in heat sinks, like thermalloy, very technical, complicated stuff.
Math.
Yeah, exactly. And my brother-in-law, who is a geography nut and a sports nut. So we've got a lot of the bases covered.
Oh my gosh, you guys should form a superhero team.
That would be rather silly. And I think the powers would be underwhelming in the final analysis, but it sounds like a fun idea.
So it's more like general trivia, like hardcore Jeopardy stuff, and not like geekdom trivia, like Geeks Who Drink or something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like that, but
Okay.
there are occasional, geekdom questions that come in, but more often than not, there's a miscellaneous category. There's a music category where you have to identify title and artist. There's a visual round where last week it was movie posters without the titles. And so you had to come up with them. They had The Wrestler, Escape from New York, Chinatown, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. That was one of the posters.
Wow.
So yeah, that was, I don't think I'd seen that one since the movie came out, but it's kind of hard to forget Estelle Getty with a, big Dirty Harry style magnum in her head.
So how did you get inspired to do a daily Star Wars podcast in the first place?
Well, podcasting was something that my wife / business partner and I had been talking about exploring for a while. We'd been listening to podcasts for a good long while, and I had certainly been listening to the Force Cast on a regular basis. That was when it was hosted by Eric Blythe and Eric Geller, and then eventually Justin Bolger came on as well. So we're going ways back.
Yes.
And being that Star Wars was just starting up again at the time. So this was back in 2014. We'd already had the announcement that Lucasfilm was being sold to Disney, and they were going to start on a new trilogy of Star Wars movies. So it was very exciting. And then in April of 2014, we got the first cast photo. That was the big table read one where everybody was around in that circle, the black and white photo that they released. And they also announced that they were rebooting the canon at that time as well. And I had not been into the expanded universe in many years because it just got too overwhelming for me to keep track of. And I had a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, I could actually hold most of, if not all of, the story of Star Wars in my head again. And that was a really exciting prospect. And so 7 ends up being a big, number for me. And I'm not really like a, superstitious numerologist kind of person, but, Star Wars came out in 77. I used to carry around a 7 of hearts in my wallet as a lucky charm. I turned 7 in 77. The Force Awakens coming out was going to be the 7th live action Star Wars movie. There were, other things. And I also thought to myself, we're getting a lot of podcasts that are very long, but not a lot of short format podcasts. Yeah. And one that I had been listening to at the time was Star Wars Minute with Alex Robinson and Pete the Retailer, where they were doing the minute by minute in detail reviews of the Star Wars movies. So they would analyze like 1 minute at a time, and it used to be like a 10 to 15, 20 minute podcast. Now they're actually going like 40, 45 minutes on a minute at a time, which is amazing. But it was something that I could listen to on the way to and from dropping the kids off to school. And I thought, there's not a lot of podcasts out there that are short format where you could listen to it in just one quick dose. Yeah. And so if I'm going to try podcasting, why not do it? And then, of course, there's the stunt aspect of, well, why not try to do it every single darn day?
Yeah.
And here we are at the time of this recording, because there was an episode 0. So the math gets complicated. I mean, episode 1250 will come out
but who's counting?
Morning. Yeah, but who's counting? That's my biggest fear about this podcast, is that I'm going to mess up the numbering at some point. That I will just miscount something, or I will duplicate something somewhere. That is my biggest fear.
Oh yeah. But we have trouble with 40s. Yeah. I'm confused with that. It's interesting to say about the importance of 7, because I actually have 7 toes on my left foot.
Do you really?
It's my lucky left foot.
That's awesome. That's that was actually the Schoolhouse Rock thing, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think there was a rabbit with a lucky 7 foot, if I remember.
Oh my gosh.
correctly.
I'm going to have to stop and think about my life now.
So what would be some of the biggest challenges you've had with getting a daily show out? We plan our shows for 2 weeks at a time, and it seems like a miracle sometimes when they get done.
That's true. They're not so good sometimes. Yeah.
But a daily show, that seems a bit intimidating.
And it was at first, and I think it was about the first 75 to 100 episodes that it took me to get comfortable with doing it on a daily basis. There were times where...
Yeah, training wheels.
Yeah, exactly. Like right now, the episode goes out at 3 a.m. Eastern, pretty much like clockwork. But there were times in the initial, first 3 or 4 months where instead of going out at 3 a.m. on a given day, it went out at 6 p.m. on a given day because you just fitting it into life and business and raising kids and, being a, halfway decent husband and all that stuff. Yeah. It was a bit of a juggling act, but now that I kind of have the system down, the routine down, it definitely goes a lot faster, and I'm more adept at figuring out where in the day I'm going to record it and looking for opportunities where I can stack up and do maybe 2 or 3 at a shot. Okay. Well, tell us where we can find the book. Where is the trivia book? It is available on Amazon. And if you were to go to, so here's a shorter web address for you to find it, sw7x7.com/TFA. So that's our website, sw7x7.com/TFA for The Force Awakens. And that will refer you straight to where the book is on Amazon. Okay.
And when are you going to come out with your next album, of Canadian prog science rock?
All right. So how long is this podcast? How much time do we have?
I might be confusing you with another thing. I'm sorry.
You might be, but my mother, once upon a time, actually wrote to the record company, their record label, and asked them for a promotional kit to find out what the deal was with the band Voivod. And apparently the lead singer is a guy named Away, like that's his name, single name Away. And he invented the Voivod as an imaginary friend to keep him company in his childhood. Like that's where the name came from for him.
Wow.
So,
well, you're not an imaginary friend
you expected,
and you keep a lot of people company.
I'm trying.
There you go.
Okay, so Alan, before we finish up here, do you have an example of some of these trivia questions you could share with our listeners?
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you guys one for a start and see what you think of it. So here's one for you. So thinking about Rey sitting outside her Imperial Walker having dinner. And here's the question for you. What does she do while eating her dinner that would be considered rude or ill-mannered in a social setting? You want to take a shot at that one, Taxus?
Pulled pork sandwich? She plays with her food, doesn't she? Or there's something she's doing in between bites.
She licks the plate.
That's exactly it.
Dennis.
That's exactly it. She licks the plate, which happens very quickly in the movie, and I certainly didn't notice it the first time or two I watched it. Wow. And it makes a heck of a lot of sense when Rey is a scavenger, that she's just, this food is so important to her. Every last calorie for her own survival is so important to her that when I finally caught her doing that, I thought, whoa, that is an incredible character touch. Man.
Yeah, mind blown. Yeah. Mind blown. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to check this out.
Yeah.
And annoy my wife with questions.
Oh, yeah. And I will give you, so the by the numbers section in the book is probably the toughest section in the book, I would say. I will give you what I think is the absolute toughest question in the book, because the only way you could ever possibly answer it is by watching the movie over and over again and pausing it and counting. But here you go. So if you think back to Takadana and the sequence when the X-Wings show up, the cavalry shows up in the form of the Resistance, and Finn is watching Poe flying around, doesn't know it's Poe at the time, but Poe goes through this sequence where he shoots down TIE fighter after TIE fighter after TIE fighter. How many TIE fighters does he shoot down in that one looping sequence that causes Finn to yell, "Ah, that's one hell of a pilot"?
I want to say 9.
That is very close.
I was going to go with 10.
10 is the number.
Okay,
10 is the exact number.
Because I actually counted that one time. I was like, whoa. I'm totally missing this. Hold on. Rewind.
You're absolutely right. You do have to stop and pay very careful attention because there's so much going on in the sky around that scene.
Wow. Yeah. That's just evidence of how much thought and preparation, like just timing they put into everything. Man, I'm really starting to appreciate this movie a lot more now. Not that I didn't. I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, that's awesome. And that's 0 for 2, Scoundrels. So pretty bad.
Nah, I don't feel that bad. I mean, there's some stuff here that I'm sure that had I been presented with it, I would not have been able to. I wouldn't have been able to answer the 10 question unless I had sat down and studied for it and known that I was going to be asked something ridiculous like that.
Did you ask how many flags were hanging outside of Maz's castle?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But I do have 2 questions, I believe, about Maz's castle and the flags there specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one flag that actually represents a real world organization. Do you know what that organization is?
I believe I do. Taxus, do you want to answer that one?
Chili's?
No, sorry, not quite.
Okay.
It was at the 501st?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't really like Chili's, I think.
But they took a lot of flags from around the Star Wars universe and put them in there.
Yeah.
If my memory serves.
Yeah, that was definitely a nerd candy when they showed that scene in the trailer. I remember like freaking out, going, "Whoa!" And trying to like identify as many as possible. Man, that's awesome. I'm starting to get really excited about the next movie now. Good job, Alan.
Oh, my pleasure.
Mission accomplished.
Well, do you have maybe one more that we could leave out there for our listeners?
Well, actually, if you don't mind, if it's all right with you, I would love to give away a couple of copies of the books to your listener.
Whoa.
That sounds like a great idea.
Miracle.
So here is the well, I've got 3 of them. So I'm looking at the back of the book. There are 3 questions on the back of the book that I haven't asked you guys yet. So So anybody who is listening to the podcast, if you tweet to the fine folks at Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, and it is S-Cubed Pod, is that right? It is at S-Cubed Pod on Twitter. So if you reply to them or reply them with the answers to these trivia questions, at least one of them, we'll pick 3 winners, and I guess the first ones that get replied in will be the winners of the books. Is that right?
That'll work.
Sure.
Excellent. All right. So for your listeners, here is question number 1. So no jumping in on the answers, Dennis. All right.
Alrighty.
Where does Han Solo believe the Guavian Death Gang tracked them from? And I'll even give you a little context. So when Han realizes that the Guavian Death Gang is docking with their freighter, he says that they must have tracked them from someplace, and I'm looking for the name of the planet that they tracked them from.
Okay.
All right. The second one for you. Who was first seen handling the explosives that were later used at Starkiller Base?
I got a good idea about that one. And what's the final question?
Final one for you. How does Maz Kanata refer to the First Order when she realizes they've arrived?
Okay, so Scoundrels, if you know the answers to these questions, go on to Twitter and tweet SQPod, and why don't you go ahead and add the Star Wars 7x7 account? What's your Twitter account for that, Alan?
That is SW7x7 Podcast.
Okay, tweet the answers to both of us, and we'll take the first 3 responses that have at least one of these answers correct. Okay. Well, Alan, thank you so much for your generosity and showing up. And just a little background here. We've had some difficulty getting this interview done due to some technical issues on my part. So I really appreciate you hanging in there with us and getting this done. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, absolutely. It was my pleasure to do it. And thank you so much for asking me. It's been great chatting with you guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
not me. I was ready to go from the get-go, so I don't know what Dennis's problem is.
All right. Well, then one last time, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find everything that is Star Wars 7x7?
All right. So it is SW7x7.com. That's the hub of everything Star Wars 7x7. And if you want to subscribe on iTunes, it's SW7x7.com/iTunes, or you can find us by looking at Star Wars 7x7, that's how that's spelled, on your favorite podcast app, whatever that might be. And I look forward to connecting with you on Twitter at SW7x7 Podcast, or whatever social network you like to enjoy.
All right. Well, thank you so much again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Trailblazer.
He gets ahead of the Black Friday sales with the top secret deals on Chartreuse Tuesday. If he offers a doorbuster deal, the door isn't the one getting busted. Cyber Monday is not an online shopping experience for him. Trust us, it isn't pleasant. According to him, free shipping has nothing to do with mailing products and everything to do with Kanan and Hera. Black Friday replaced Super Bowl Sunday as his favorite competitive sporting event of the year. He knows exactly what shopping district on Coruscant has the best deals. No one has ever returned his fruitcake. He is the most interesting Sith in the galaxy.
I always drink, and sometimes when I'm desperate, I drink Dulce speak. Speak Sithi, my fools.
It's time for
Silence, fools!
Okay, this week we have a fun collection of listener feedback. Up first, we've heard again from David Kelly, and his little one has got a new 5-year-old question for us. This time it is, why do stormtroopers wear armor if it doesn't protect them from blasters or lightsabers? That's a pretty good question.
Really good question.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of that has to do with the fact that it is a uniform and they are in the military. So they need to look uniform like everyone else. Yeah. But there is definitely some protection that the plastoid gives them.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not foolproof for sure. What do you think, Taxus?
Well, yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I remember from the West End Games description that armor was more effective against kinetic energy, like let's say a slug thrower weapon, like a rifle, or maybe something that's like melee kind of hand-to-hand stuff with a club or something like that. And that those blasters are they offer some protection, but just not from a direct hit. It'd be sort of like lighter body armor. But I seem to also remember there were some varying degrees of, let's say, quality standards employed.
Right.
And also whenever you're trying to create this much armor for such a large army and stuff, you're not going to get the same, they're going to kind of cheap out on the level of protection. Plus, it's kind of indicative to the way the Empire looks at its forces. TIE fighters, for example, no shields.
Right.
They want to overwhelm you with numbers rather than put a bunch of money into each individual fighter. Something that the First Order, of course, remedies. But so yeah, Dennis, do you have any thoughts?
Well, just this. You don't forget that the stormtroopers are the successors to the clone troopers, and they were designed to fight the separatists, which didn't have a ton of force users with lightsabers. They had an Asajj Ventress or Count Dooku, but they typically weren't taking the field en masse against their enemies. So they didn't need to be lightsaber proof. And then by the time the stormtroopers rolled around, the Jedi were believed to be wiped out. So they didn't need to concern themselves with a lot of lightsaber protection as well. Yeah. But I generally agree with the mass quantity production theory that you had there, Taxus. Yeah. So, Okay, well, there you go. We hope that answers his question. Moving on, we have a little bit of feedback from Twitter. First, our friends over at Fanthetrax tweeted, "Now that's a snazzy looking image," and that was in response to the good, the bad, and the ugly show image that James Volpe did for us. I had shared that with a link to our page on RetroZap, and they liked that image. And speaking of James Volpe and gift guides, as we're in this episode, you can continue to find his stuff over on tpublic.com/Volpe Design. He's got a lot of Star Wars theme things over there. And then also, we heard from Roku Depot again, and they said, "Listen to this on my comic book run today. Great episode." And that was in response to our Thanksgiving episode, which was episode 42. So
yay. That was so much fun too. So I'm glad that others are sharing in the delight, because that was definitely a delightful episode to do. Yes. So thanks, Roku Depot.
Yeah, that was Steven, who's also known as Skuldrin. So thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And finally, in a little bit of community news, head over to retrozap.com and make sure to check out Kendall Schroeder's Inktober and the Star Wars Universe column under the Artist Series. Kendall wrote a great article on his journey through the Artist Challenge of Inktober, where artists all over the world take part in a drawing challenge by creating one ink drawing per day. This year, Kendall focused all of his drawings on Star Wars, and the results were awesome. He had, the Tutu's brothers. He had the Gonk droids. He had, I can't do it justice by even attempting to describe it, but it was really fantastic.
Very cool. Well, good. Yeah. And if I could mention too, with Michael Pascal of 800 Pound Products, he has definitely become a very good friend of the show. And right now he is sold out of all of his Kyber Fox. Now we know is called the Vulptex, but they are gorgeous, gorgeous pins. And he's going to be restocking very soon, but unfortunately not in time for the holidays. But if and he also participated in Inktober as well as did our friend Courtney. Which she was on from our last, I believe, October That's So Wizard, when we interviewed her about her store. So so there's a lot of very talented artists out there that we've had a great opportunity to become friends of the show. So check them all out.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode's edition of Silence Fools. Well, this episode really has me in a holiday mood. Before we go, do either of you have anything coming up for the Scoundrels to look for?
Well, I do. I'm going to be having a couple of reviews coming up. One that's kind of top secret that I can't talk about until this week. So, so this week on Coffee with Kenobi with Core Worlds Couture, look for a new review and unboxing of something that I can't talk about just yet. So, and of course, I'll have my Porg outfit reviewed here soon too. So those are for me, that's the things I've got coming up. Taxus, how about you?
Well, you can find me over on Assembly of Geeks with the Geek Supreme with Scott Murray, Regina Davis, and Jeff McGee. And we're just talking about anything and everything under the geekdom sun in a fun little game show style type of event. So that drops every Tuesday. Just go check it out on Assembly of Geeks Network.
And I have some recent comic reviews on RetroZap, including Star Wars number 39, Poe Dameron number 21, and Mace Windu number 4. Just check out the comics commentary section under articles to find those. Warp Trails, the Star Trek Discovery podcast I do with my wife, can be found on the RetroZap podcast feed. Look for that on your favorite podcatcher under RetroZap, or head over to RetroZap.com. We haven't done a new episode since the mid-season finale, but we are tossing around a few ideas for some bonus episodes during the break. But holidays and stuff. So anyway, Scoundrels, thank you for listening and for your support. If you've enjoyed the show, this has been Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels, and we would love a review wherever you listen to your podcast, especially iTunes, which is known as Apple Podcasts. Did you know you can write a podcast review directly from Apple's podcast app now? Well, if you didn't, you haven't been paying attention, because I've been talking about this for weeks. But anyways, you can, and if that is your podcatcher, it is easier than ever to leave a review. On the other hand, if you didn't care for this, then we request you not threaten to put us back on schedule. We already know the Emperor can be unforgiving. In all seriousness, we appreciate it anytime you share our shows on Twitter and Facebook. Please let others know that you're listening. Thanks to all the dedicated scoundrels that take the time to share our show with others.
Absolutely. And we are on social media. Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at @SCubedPod and liked on Facebook, where we are facebook.com/SCubedPod. If you want to follow Darth Taxus on Twitter, he is at Darth Taxus. Dennis is at DJKVER2, and I am at Joyce Krebs. In addition to social media, you can reach us by email at scubedpod@retrozap.com. We would love to hear your ideas for Star Wars holiday gifts, but if you have anything else that is on your mind, Star Wars related or not, then let us know. Emails, really good tweets, and iTunes reviews end up in silence fools. And again, our email address is scubedpod@retrozap.com.
And of course, as always, we are honored to be part of the RetroZap.com podcast network. Did you know that RetroZap is home to 21 podcasts? They said that couldn't be done. They couldn't make that many flavors in one ice cream shop, but it was. Please check out RetroZap for other great shows, including the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Case Files, the Deucecast Movie Show, which is actually, one of my favorite shows and the best general movie show on the web, Kanata's Castle, Talking Apes TV, and, of course, the aforementioned Warp Trails. Also, be sure to check out our Scoundrels t-shirts on tpublic.com. Just go to tpublic.com/user/scubedpod or just search for us on the site. They make terrible wrapping paper.
Indeed. Thanks to Aaron Lay for our show logos and to James Volpe, the Sky Geek, for our The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly show logo. And a special thanks to Alan Voivod from Star Wars 7x7, the only daily Star Wars podcast, for stopping by to discuss everything he's been up to and his new trivia guide for The Force Awakens.
And here is our disclaimer. Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels is not endorsed, affiliated with, or sponsored by Lucasfilm Limited and or Disney. This show is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All characters, music, and sounds are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. All else is the intellectual property of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels unless otherwise indicated.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Taxus, do you have any orders for battling this shopping season?
Just one. Charge!
I'm sorry. That will do it for episode 43 of Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels. As always, thanks for listening and joining us this week. We'll catch you next time, and may the Force be with you.
Lay away!
Well, there's all kinds of ways we can help each other. I can assist you with my magic.
How?
Oh, I'll show you.